The cargo ship, Gentle Passage, moved slowly through the empty space between stars. It was not a pretty ship. The paint was old, and the metal was scratched from many years of work. But it was a good ship. It carried expensive silk and cloth from one side of the galaxy to the other. Captain Mirabelle stood on the bridge and watched the stars through the large window. She was a Veloxi, which meant she looked something like a giant moth. She had soft gray fur covering her body, large dark eyes that could see in almost complete darkness, and two long antennae on top of her head. Her wings were folded against her back. She had not used them in many years. There was no need to fly inside a spaceship. The Veloxi were known across the galaxy for two things. First, they made the finest cloth and silk that anyone had ever seen. Kings and queens from 100 worlds paid huge amounts of money for Veloxi textiles. Second, the Veloxi were not fighters. They were small. They were gentle. They scared easily. This made them perfect targets for pirates. "Captain," said her navigation officer, a young Veloxi named Prill. His antennae were shaking with fear. "I am reading 3 ships on the scanner. They just appeared from behind the asteroid field." Mirabelle felt her hearts begin to beat faster. She had 2 hearts, like all Veloxi, and right now both of them were filled with terror. She knew what 3 ships appearing suddenly meant. She knew what part of space they were traveling through. This was the Kethrin Corridor. It was the fastest route between the textile worlds and the main trading stations. It was also hunting ground for the Bloodfang pirates. "Show me," Mirabelle said. Her voice was steady, even though she was afraid. The main screen changed to show the 3 approaching ships. They were shaped like long knives, painted red and black. Weapons stuck out from every surface. These were not trading ships. These were ships built for only one purpose: to hurt other ships and take their cargo. "They are sending a message," Prill said. The screen changed again. Now it showed the face of a Bloodfang pirate. He was a reptile, covered in dark green scales. A long scar ran across his face, from his forehead to his chin. His eyes were yellow, with black slits for pupils. When he smiled, he showed rows of sharp teeth. "Cargo vessel Gentle Passage," the pirate said. His voice was deep and rough. "This is Captain Crix of the Bloodfang Raiders. You will stop your engines and prepare to be boarded. If you fight, you will die. If you run, you will die. Give us what we want, and maybe we will let you live." Mirabelle felt her crew shaking around her. Some of them were making small crying sounds. The Veloxi did this when they were very scared. It was an old instinct from when they lived on their homeworld and had to warn each other about predators. But Mirabelle did not cry. Instead, she felt something she had not felt in a long time. She felt hope. She pressed a button on her chair. "Communications officer," she said, "send the standard message. Protocol 7. Her communications officer, an older Veloxi named Teth, looked at her with confusion. Then his eyes went wide as he remembered. His antennae stopped shaking. He almost smiled. "Yes, Captain," he said. "Sending now." The message was short. It had been written by the Galactic Shipping Council many years ago, after certain events that had changed how everyone thought about security. It was broadcast on all frequencies so that everyone could hear it clearly. "Attention approaching vessels. This is an automated safety warning from the cargo ship Gentle Passage. For your safety, please pick a different target. This message will repeat." On the pirate ship, Captain Crix heard the message. He blinked his yellow eyes. Then he started to laugh. It was a cold, cruel sound. "A human?" he said to his crew. "They think a human will save them?" His first officer, a smaller reptile named Vess, did not laugh. She had heard stories about humans. Everyone had heard stories. But Crix did not believe in stories. "Humans are small," Crix said. "Smaller than us. They have no claws, no fangs. No armor on their skin. No poison in their bite. They are soft and weak. One human cannot stop 12 of my best warriors. Captain, Vess said carefully. The stories say. The stories are lies, Crix cut her off, told by cowards who were beaten by their own fear. I have been a pirate for 20 years. I have raided ships from 50 different species. I have never lost a boarding action. One hairless ape will not change that today. He turned to his weapons officer. Prepare the boarding teams. We take the ship in 10 minutes. On the gentle passage, the crew waited in terror. All except one person. Deep in the cargo bay, sitting on a metal crate, a human woman was reading a book. Her name was Elena Chen. She was not tall. She was not covered in muscles. She wore simple clothes, dark pants, a worn jacket with many patches, and heavy boots. Her black hair was pulled back in a practical style. Her brown eyes were focused on the pages in front of her. Beside her was a cup of coffee. It was still hot. She took a sip without looking up from her book. The ship's internal speakers crackled. Captain Miravel's voice came through, shaky, but trying to be calm. Miss Chen, we have a situation. 3 Bloodfang pirate ships. They did not respond to the warning. They are preparing to board us. She put a small piece of paper in her book to mark her place. She set the book down gently on the crate. She looked at her coffee with something like sadness. How long? She asked. 10 minutes. Maybe less. Understood. Tell your crew to stay on the bridge. Lock the door. Do not come out until I tell you it is safe. There was a pause. Miss Chen, there are 12 of them. Maybe more. They are Bloodfangs. They have weapons and armor and— Captain Miravel, Elena said gently, you hired me for a reason. Let me do my job. I promise you, your crew will be safe. Your cargo will be safe. Everything will be fine. She stood up and stretched her arms above her head. Her joints made small popping sounds. She rolled her neck from side to side. I was really hoping to finish this chapter, she said to no one. It was just getting good. Then she walked toward the main corridor of the ship and waited for the pirates to arrive. She did not bring any weapons. She did not look scared. She looked, if anything, slightly annoyed. The coffee sat forgotten on the crate, slowly getting cold. The sound of cutting tools against metal filled the ship. The pirates were breaking through the airlock door. Orange sparks flew in all directions as their plasma torches burned through the thick steel. The Veloxy crew huddled together on the bridge, their antennae pressed flat against their heads in fear. Some of them held each other. Others made small whimpering sounds. Captain Miravel stood apart from them. She watched the security screens that showed every corridor of her ship. On one screen, she could see the airlock door beginning to glow red with heat. On another screen, she could see Elena Chen standing alone in the central corridor. The human had her hands in her jacket pockets. She was leaning against the wall like she was waiting for a bus. She is going to die, whispered Prill, the navigation officer. There are too many of them. She is just one person. Miravel did not answer. She had hired Elena Chen from a security company 3 months ago. The company specialized in providing human guards for cargo ships. The price had been very high. 3 times what a normal security officer would cost. At the time, Miravel had wondered if she was wasting money. Now, she would find out. The airlock door fell inward with a crash. Smoke and sparks filled the entrance corridor. Through the smoke came the Bloodfang boarding party. There were 12 of them, just as the captain had said. Each one was over 2 meters tall. They wore black armor that covered their chests and arms. They carried energy rifles and plasma pistols. Some had long curved knives strapped to their legs. The leader was the biggest of them all. His name was Gorath, and he had killed many people in his life. He had green scales that were almost black, and his arms were as thick as tree branches. He smiled when he stepped onto the ship. This would be easy. The Veloxi never fought back. "Find the cargo," Gorath ordered his team. "Kill anyone who—" He stopped. There was someone standing in the corridor ahead of him. Not a Veloxi. Something else. Something he had never seen before. Elena Chen waved at him. "Hi," she said. Her voice was calm and friendly, like she was greeting a neighbor. "I am the human. You probably heard the warning message. I am giving you one last chance to leave. If you go now, nobody gets hurt." Gorath stared at her. This was the human? This small, soft thing? She had no scales, no claws, no visible weapons. She was half his size. He could break her in half with one hand. Some of his raiders laughed. Others made hissing sounds of amusement. This was a joke. This had to be a joke. "Little creature," Gorath said, stepping forward. "I am going to enjoy this." He moved fast. Bloodfang raiders were known for their speed. His clawed hand shot out to grab Elena by the throat. In his experience, this was usually enough to end any fight before it started. Grab them by the neck, lift them off the ground, and watch the fear fill their eyes. His hand closed on empty air. Elena was not there anymore. She had moved. Not away from him, which he expected. She had moved toward him and to the side. Before his brain could understand what was happening, he felt a sharp pain in the back of his knee. His leg buckled. He fell forward. Elena was already moving again. She grabbed his arm as he fell, twisted it in a direction it was not supposed to go, and used his own weight against him. Gorath, who weighed almost 200 kilograms, found himself flying through the air. He crashed into two of his own raiders, and all three of them went down in a pile of tangled limbs. The other pirates froze. They had not even seen what happened. It was too fast. "That was your one free lesson," Elena said. Her heart was beating just a little faster than normal, but not much. "Anyone else want to try?" A raider to her left raised his energy rifle. Elena moved before he could aim. She was beside him in an instant, her hand pushing the rifle up toward the ceiling. The shot went wild, burning a hole in the metal above them. Elena's other hand came up, and she hit him in the throat. Not hard enough to kill, just hard enough to make him stop breathing for a few seconds. He dropped the rifle and fell to his knees, gasping. Now the pirates were angry. 3 of them attacked at once, coming from different directions. They had trained for this. They knew how to fight together. They had done this many times. But they had never fought a human before. What happened next was hard to follow, even on the security cameras. Elena did not fight like the Veloxi expected. She did not stand her ground and trade blows. She moved constantly, flowing around attacks like water around stones. When a pirate swung at her, she was already gone. When they fired their weapons, she had already moved behind one of their own people. She used their size against them. She used their weight against them. She used their anger against them. Every time one of them attacked, they seemed to hurt one of their own teammates. The corridor was not very wide, and 12 large reptiles could not all attack one small human at the same time. They got in each other's way. They blocked each other's shots. And Elena never stopped moving, never stopped hitting, never stopped finding weak points in their armor, soft spots in their scales, joints that bent the wrong way if you pushed them right. On the bridge, the Veloxi watched in complete silence. Their large dark eyes were wide with shock. Krill had stopped whimpering. Captain Miravel's antennae were standing straight up, which among her people was a sign of extreme amazement. "What is she?" Krill whispered. Miravel did not answer. She had read about humans before she hired one. She knew the facts. Humans came from a planet called Earth. It was a death world, a planet so dangerous that it should not have produced intelligent life. Everything on Earth wanted to kill everything else. The humans had survived anyway. They had done more than survive. They had conquered their world. They had tamed animals that had claws and fangs. They had built cities. They had reached for the stars, and they had done it all, without scales, or armor, or venom, or any natural weapons at all. What they had instead was something more dangerous. They had minds that never stopped thinking, bodies that never stopped adapting, spirits that never stopped fighting. On the screen, Elena broke the arm of another raider. The sound of the bones snapping was clear even through the security system speakers. The pirates screamed and fell. 8 pirates were now on the ground. Some were unconscious, some were holding broken limbs, some were simply too hurt to move. The remaining 4 looked at each other. They looked at the human who stood among their fallen comrades, not even breathing hard. They ran. Elena did not chase them. She watched them retreat through the broken airlock, dragging some of their wounded friends with them. She waited until the last one was gone. Then she turned to look at the nearest camera. "Captain Mirabel," she said, "your ship is secure. But we are not done yet. Those pirates are going back to their captain. If I let them go, they will just come back with more people. I need to make sure they understand that this ship is not worth the trouble." Mirabel pressed the communication button with a shaking hand. "What are you going to do?" Elena smiled. It was not a warm smile. It was the smile of a predator. "I am going to pay their captain a visit," she said. "I am going to explain some things to him. Please keep your crew safe until I return." She walked toward the broken airlock, stepping over the groaning bodies of the pirates she had defeated. She moved like she was going for a walk in a park. Like this was normal. Like she did this every day. The Veloxi watched her go in stunned silence. "I think," Mirabel said slowly, "that we got very good value for our money." Captain Crix stood on the bridge of his ship, the Crimson Maw, and listened to the report from his surviving raiders. He did not want to believe what he was hearing. He could not believe it. "1 human," he said slowly. "1 single human defeated 8 of my warriors." Gorath stood before him, with his arm in a medical wrap. The bones had been broken in 3 places. The ship's doctor said it would take weeks to heal properly. Gorath was one of the best fighters Crix had ever known. He had won dozens of battles, and he had been beaten by a creature half his size. "She was fast, Captain," Gorath said. His voice was quiet and filled with shame. "Faster than anything I have ever seen. And strong. Not strong like us, different strong. She knew exactly where to hit, exactly how to move. It was like fighting smoke." Crix's first officer, Vess, was already working at her computer station. She was pulling up information from the Galactic database. Everything they had on humans. Everything anyone knew. "Captain," she said, "you need to see this." Crix walked over to her station and looked at the screen. What he read made his scales feel cold. The file was titled, "Human Species Assessment, Extreme Caution Advised." Crix began to read. Humans originated from a Class 12 death world called Earth. The planet had extreme temperatures, constant natural disasters, deadly radiation from its sun, and millions of species designed to kill. The atmosphere was corrosive. The water contained salt and bacteria. Even the plants could be poisonous. "How did anything survive on this world?" Crix muttered. He read on. Humans were what scientists called persistence predators. They did not have claws or fangs or venom. They did not need them. Instead, they had something much more terrifying. They had endurance. In ancient times, humans hunted by chasing their prey. Not by running fast, but by running far. They would follow an animal for hours, days sometimes. They would not stop. The animal would run and run and run, trying to escape, but the humans kept coming. Eventually, the animal would collapse from exhaustion. Then, the human would kill it. The file included a warning in red text. Humans do not give up. They do not stop. If a human decides you are their prey, they will follow you forever. Crix felt something he had not felt in many years. Fear. He continued reading. Humans had conquered every environment on their planet. They lived in frozen wastelands and burning deserts. They lived in jungles filled with predators and mountains where the air was too thin to breathe. They had domesticated wolves, which were pack hunters with sharp teeth and incredible senses. They had made these dangerous predators into loyal pets. The file showed an image of a human child hugging a wolf. The wolf was licking the child's face. Under the image was a caption: "Humans form strong emotional bonds with other species. They will protect these bonded creatures with extreme violence, if necessary." Pack bonding, Vess said quietly. That is what they call it. When a human decides something belongs to them, they will do anything to protect it. Anything. The Veloxy crew, Crix said slowly. The human has bonded with them. Most likely, yes. The human sees them as part of her pack now. She will not stop fighting until she believes they are safe. Crix looked at more of the file. There were stories. So many stories. One story told of a human who chased a thief across 3 star systems for 6 months. The thief had stolen the human's pet cat. Just a small animal, worth almost nothing. But the human had tracked the thief, found him, and beaten him so badly he needed reconstructive surgery. Then the human took back the cat and went home. Another story told of a human soldier who carried his wounded friend across 50 kilometers of enemy territory. He had been shot 4 times. He walked for 3 days without stopping. When he reached safety, he collapsed. But his friend survived. There was a quote at the bottom of the file. It was attributed to something called Sun Tzu, which was apparently a human war leader from ancient times. The supreme art of war is to break the enemy's will to fight. Crix understood now why the other races were so afraid of humans. It was not their strength. It was not their speed. It was their will. Their absolute refusal to accept defeat. You could hurt a human, break their bones, take everything they had, and they would still keep coming. They would crawl through fire if they had to. They would die before they gave up. And this human, this Elena Chen, was now coming for him. "Captain," the sensor officer's voice was sharp with alarm. "Movement outside the ship. Something is attached to our hull." "What? Show me." The external cameras turned to face the lower section of the ship. At first, Crix did not see anything. Then he noticed something moving. A small figure in a spacesuit, climbing along the metal surface of his ship like an insect. It was the human. She had spacewalked from the cargo ship. The distance between the vessels was almost 200 meters. There was no air in space, no gravity. One mistake, and she would drift away into the endless black and die. But she had done it anyway. In her hand she carried a small cutting tool. She was already burning a hole in his hull. "Seal that section," Crix ordered. "Send a team to stop her." Vess shook her head. "Captain, our warriors are afraid. They saw what she did to Gorath and the others. I am not sure anyone will. I do not care if they are afraid. She is one human. We have 200 crew members." But even as he shouted, Crix was not sure anymore. The reports from other ships flashed through his mind. A human taking down a Korath raiding party. A human destroying a criminal base single-handed. A human who had been shot 9 times and still finished her mission before collapsing. These were not made-up stories. These were documented events with video evidence. The ship shuddered slightly. The human had broken through the outer hull. She was inside. Crix watched on the internal cameras as Elena Chen pulled herself through the hole she had made. She took off her spacesuit helmet and dropped it on the floor. Then she started walking toward the center of the ship, toward the bridge, toward him. She passed a group of pirates in a corridor. They raised their weapons. She looked at them. Just looked. Her eyes were calm and steady. She did not slow down. She did not speak. The pirates stepped aside and let her pass. Crix could not believe what he was seeing. His own crew, his feared Bloodfang raiders, were moving out of the way of a single unarmed human. But he understood. He finally understood. Humans were not dangerous because of what they could do. They were dangerous because of what they made you believe they could do. And right now, every pirate on this ship believed that this small, soft, clawless creature could kill them all if she wanted to. The worst part was, they might be right. "Vess," Crick said quietly, "contact the other ships. Tell them to hold position. And tell them we might need to reconsider our target." Vess nodded. For the first time in his long career as a pirate, Captain Crix was thinking about running away. Elena Chen walked through the corridors of the pirate ship like she owned it. She did not hurry. She did not look around nervously. She walked with the confidence of someone who knew exactly where she was going and exactly what she was going to do when she got there. The pirates she passed did not try to stop her anymore. Word had spread through the ship like fire. 8 of their best fighters were in the medical bay with broken bones. The human had crossed the empty space between ships with nothing but a rope and a spacesuit. She was not normal. She was not like anything they had ever seen. Some of them hid when they heard her footsteps coming. Others pressed themselves against the walls and looked away, hoping she would not notice them. A few of the braver ones watched her pass with a mixture of fear and fascination. Elena ignored them all. She had one goal, the bridge. She needed to speak with Captain Crix. She needed to make him understand that attacking the gentle passage had been a mistake. She climbed a ladder to the upper deck. At the top, she found a young pirate blocking her path. He was small for a Bloodfang, with light green scales that had not yet darkened with age. His hands were shaking so badly that his weapon rattled against his armor. Elena stopped and looked at him. He was young, very young, probably on his first raid. He reminded her of the scared teenagers she had seen on Earth, trying to act tough when they were really just children, pretending to be adults. "First raid?" she asked quietly. The young pirate nodded. His yellow eyes were wide with terror. "What is your name?" "Sicketh," he managed to say. "Sicketh, that is a good name." Elena's voice was gentle now, not threatening. "Listen to me carefully. I am going to the bridge to talk to your captain. I do not want to hurt anyone else on this ship. But if you try to stop me, I will have to. Do you understand?" Sicketh nodded again. "Good. Now, here is what you are going to do. You are going to go to the mess hall. You are going to sit down and wait until this is all over. When it is done, you are going to think very hard about whether you want to continue being a pirate. There are better ways to live, Sicketh. Ways that do not end with someone like me coming to your ship." She stepped past him. The young pirate did not move. He stood frozen for a long moment, then turned and ran toward the mess hall. He did not look back. Elena continued toward the bridge. The door to the bridge was thick and heavy, designed to withstand attacks. 2 large guards stood in front of it. They were older than Sicketh, scarred from many battles. They held their weapons properly. They did not shake. "Move," Elena said simply. They had their pride. They had their reputation. They could not just step aside for one human, no matter how scared they were. One of them lunged at her. 3 seconds later, he was on the floor with his arm twisted behind his back. Elena had not even seemed to move fast. One moment she was standing there. The next moment, the guard was screaming in pain. The second guard dropped his weapon. "Smart choice," Elena said. She let the first guard go and pushed open the bridge door. Captain Crix was waiting for her. The bridge of the Crimson Maw was large and dark, lit by red lights that gave everything a bloody glow. Computer screens lined the walls, showing views of space and data about the ship. A dozen pirates stood at various stations, but they all looked nervous. They all looked ready to run. Crix sat in a large chair at the center of the room. He was trying to look confident. He was trying to look like a captain should look. But Elena could see the fear in his yellow eyes. She could see the way his claws gripped the arms of his chair. Behind him stood 6 of his best warriors. They were bigger than Gorath. They were covered in scars. They had survived hundreds of fights. And they were all watching Elena like she was a bomb that might explode at any moment. "So," Crix said, his voice steady but forced, "you are the human." "I am." Elena stopped in the middle of the room and put her hands in her pockets. It was a casual pose, a relaxed pose, the pose of someone who was not worried at all. "You have caused a lot of trouble today. You started it. I am just finishing it." Crix leaned forward in his chair. "You are outnumbered, human. You are surrounded by my best fighters. You have no weapons. You cannot possibly—" "Let me tell you what is going to happen," Elena interrupted. Her voice was calm, but firm, like a teacher explaining something to a child who was not paying attention. "You are going to release the 3 Veloxi merchant ships you captured this month. The Silver Thread, the Morning Light, and the Peaceful Journey. You are going to return all their cargo, everything you took." Crix's eyes went wide. "How do you know about—" "I did my research. I know what ships have gone missing in this corridor. I know who took them. I know where the crews are being held." Elena's eyes were cold now, hard. "You are also going to leave this shipping lane. Find somewhere else to hunt. The Kethrin corridor is now under my protection." For a moment, there was silence on the bridge. Then Crix started to laugh. It was a forced laugh, meant to show his crew that he was not afraid. But everyone could hear how hollow it sounded. "And if I refuse?" he asked. Elena smiled. It was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of someone who knew something terrible and was deciding whether to share it. "Then I stop being polite," she said. "And you find out why my species has a saying, 'We did not claw our way to the top of our food chain to be afraid of lizards.'" She took her hands out of her pockets and cracked her knuckles. The sound was very loud in the silent room. "We used to fight things with bigger teeth than you, things with sharper claws, things that could have eaten us in one bite. We won. We did not just survive, we tamed them, we made them our pets." She took a step forward. The warriors behind Crix all stepped back. They did not mean to. Their bodies just moved on their own. "Your ancestors were probably the top predators on your world. You have scales and claws and teeth because you evolved to hunt, you evolved to kill. But we evolved to be hunted. We evolved to survive. And somewhere along the way, we got tired of being prey." Another step forward. "So we became the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. Not because of our bodies, because of our minds. Because we never ever ever give up. You can hurt us. You can break our bones. You can take everything we have. And we will still keep coming. We will find you. We will hunt you down. We will follow you to the ends of the universe." She was standing right in front of Crix now, close enough to touch him. He had not even seen her cross the room. "So here is the question you need to answer, Captain Crix. Is one cargo ship worth what happens next? Is it worth me coming back? Because I promise you, if you do not do what I say, I will come back, and I will bring friends." She leaned in close. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "We pack bond with everyone, and there are billions of us." Crix looked into her eyes. They were brown, soft, very human, and completely without mercy. He believed her. He believed every word. "Release the ships," he said quietly. "All of them. Now." The news spread quickly through the pirate networks. Captain Crix, the terror of the Kethrin corridor, had been defeated. Not by a fleet of warships, not by a government navy, not by hired mercenaries. He had been defeated by one human woman who had walked onto his bridge and made him give up without firing a single shot. The story grew with each telling. Some versions said she had killed 100 pirates with her bare hands. Other versions said she had walked through walls and appeared out of thin air. A few versions claimed she was not even human at all, but some kind of demon from a nightmare world. The truth was simpler, but in some ways more frightening. Elena Chen had done exactly what the old files said humans would do. She had protected her pack. She had shown no fear. She had refused to back down no matter what stood against her. And it had worked. Within a week, attacks in the Catherine corridor dropped by half. Within a month, they had almost stopped completely. Pirates were not stupid. They understood risk and reward. The reward from attacking ships in that corridor was good, but the risk of meeting another human was too high. Other shipping lanes started sending requests to the same security company that Elena worked for. They wanted human guards. They were willing to pay whatever it cost. Soon, human security consultants became the most valuable commodity in the cargo shipping industry. Back on the Gentle Passage, things were returning to normal. The crew had repaired the damage from the boarding attempt. The cargo was safe. They would reach their destination on time. Captain Miravel stood in the cargo bay, watching Elena Chen pack her small bag. The human was leaving at the next station. Her contract was complete. She had done what she was paid to do, and more. "Miss Chen," Miravel said, her antenna twitching with emotion, "I do not know how to thank you. You saved my ship. You saved my crew. You saved the cargo that many families depend on for their income." Elena zipped up her bag and turned to face the Veloxy captain. "It is my job. You do not need to thank me." "It was more than a job. I watched what you did. On the cameras. I saw how you fought. But more than that, I saw how you talked to that young pirate, Sicketh. You could have hurt him. Instead, you gave him advice. You tried to help him." Elena shrugged. He was just a kid. Scared. Probably had no other options in life. Sometimes people end up in bad places not because they are bad, but because they did not know any other way. Miravel was quiet for a moment. Her large dark eyes studied the human with great curiosity. Among the Veloxy, this was considered rude, but she could not help herself. "Why?" she finally asked. "Why do humans do this? You risk yourselves for strangers, for species you have never met before, for people who cannot give you anything in return. I do not understand." Elena sat down on a cargo crate. She thought about the question for a long time before answering. It was a good question. Humans did not always know the answer themselves. "I think," she said slowly, "it is because we cannot help it. Somewhere deep in our brains, we have this need to protect things. When we see something smaller than us, something weaker, something that needs help, we want to help it. We feel it in our bones." She looked up at Miravel. "On Earth, we have a saying, 'The strong protect the weak.' It is something our parents teach us when we are children. We grow up believing it, and when we go out into the galaxy and meet species like yours, species that are gentle and kind and make beautiful things, we feel that same instinct." Miravel's antennae rose slightly. "You think we are weak?" "No." Elena shook her head firmly. "Different does not mean weak. Your people create cloth so beautiful that it makes other species cry. You have songs that can heal emotional wounds. You see the universe in colors that my eyes cannot even imagine. That is not weakness. That is just a different kind of strength." She stood up and shouldered her bag. "But you are not fighters, and there are creatures out there who only understand fighting. So you need people like me. People who can speak the language of violence, so you do not have to." Miravel understood then. She understood what humans really were. They were not warriors who loved battle. They were not monsters who enjoyed hurting others. They were protectors, guardians. They put themselves in danger so that others did not have to. It was a strange thing, a beautiful thing, and it made her feel safer than she had felt in years. "Wait," Miravel said. She hurried to a storage compartment, and pulled out something wrapped in soft cloth. She brought it back to Elena and held it out. "Please, take this." Elena unwrapped the cloth. Inside was a scarf, but not just any scarf. It was made from the finest Veloxi silk, woven in patterns of deep blue and silver that seemed to shimmer and move like water. It was one of the most valuable items that could be made by Veloxi hands. "Captain, I cannot accept this. This is worth more than my contract." "Please." Mirabelle pressed it into Elena's hands. "Among my people, we give such gifts to those we consider family. You protected us. You bled for us, even if only a little. You made yourself our shield. That makes you pack, as you humans say." Elena looked at the scarf. Then she looked at Mirabelle. The Veloxi's large eyes were shining with emotion. Her antennae were quivering. Slowly, Elena wrapped the scarf around her neck. It was incredibly soft. The colors made her plain jacket look almost elegant. "Thank you," she said quietly. "I will wear it with pride." She walked toward the airlock, where a shuttle was waiting to take her to the station. At the door, she paused and looked back. "Captain Mirabelle, if you ever need help again, send a message to the company. Ask for me by name. I will come." Then she was gone. Mirabelle stood alone in the cargo bay for a long time, thinking about humans, about how such small, soft, fragile creatures could also be the most terrifying things in the galaxy, about how the same species that produced ruthless killers also produced gentle souls who saved young pirates and accepted scarves from grateful moths. Humans were complicated. Humans were dangerous. Humans were kind. And Mirabelle was very, very glad that they were out there, watching over ships like hers. On the communications network, the automatic warning message continued to broadcast from cargo ships all across the galaxy. The message had been written years ago, but it had never been more true than it was now. "Dear pirates, there is a human on this ship. For your safety, please pick a different target." Most pirates, eventually, learned to listen. The ones who did not learned something else instead. They learned why humans were the most feared creatures in the galaxy, and why the smart predators left their packs alone.